Studies show that 35 to 50% of leads go to the vendor that responds first. That means when somebody comes to your website and calls you or fills out a form, you've got to respond quickly because they probably also went to your competitor's website and did the same exact thing. So if they respond more quickly, they win. You've got to be fast. Studies also show that 79% of leads are not ready to purchase when they first become a lead. Why is that important? Well, what that means is your salespeople are going after all these new leads thinking that they're going to close them. And the ones that they don't close, most of the time, it's not because it wasn't a great fit or the price was wrong or the terms weren't right or whatever. It's because the customer just wasn't ready yet. They weren't far enough in their buying process to make the purchase yet. So you have to have a way to stay in touch with them over the long haul. That's how you're going to win. Be fast in getting to them in the first place, and then stay in touch with them over the long haul. Think about the amount of money that you're investing in generating leads now. If you're doing a lot of outbound outreach, networking, cold calling, trade shows, you know you're spending a lot of time. You're spending a lot of money to get engaged with new potential customers. You might be spending thousands and thousands on ads for the same reason. And of course, you're investing in your website and your marketing collateral, and all of this is a big part of your budget, and it's explicitly there in order to generate leads. So how can we make sure that that investment returns to the maximum degree? Well, lead nurturing is a big part of the answer. So this is a spreadsheet that I put together to show clients what kind of return they might expect from a lead nurturing campaign. Let's imagine that you're a very small business. 2 salespeople, your average sale, the purchase amount that a customer makes is $5,000. And you've got these 2 salespeople have a quota of $250,000 each. You're doing $500,000 in business in total as a business. Well, if your salespeople are going through 200 leads every month, they're not closing 195 of those every month. So what happens to those? Do you just throw them away? We've talked about how much money you spent to generate those leads and how at least 79% of them aren't ready to buy. If all you do is take those leads and put them in the hopper and make sure that they get a couple of emails every month, you're going to get them to re-engage with your company when the time is right. So this spreadsheet shows you how that list size builds up over time, and the amount of responses that you start to see builds up, and the sales that come from that builds up. So in a small business that's doing $500,000 a year, after 6 months, you're seeing $3,000 in additional sales. That's significant. After 12 months, you're seeing almost $5,000 in additional sales. That is nothing to sneeze at, and is probably getting close to equaling the amount of money that you're spending on marketing and things in that size of business. Now, let's update this and think about a slightly bigger business. So if I have 10 salespeople and my average sale size is $25,000, and the quota for my salespeople is $1 million a piece, right? Well, now the return that I'm seeing after 6 months is greater than $50,000 in additional sales, and it's almost $100,000 per month after 12 months, because that list that I'm emailing is getting pretty darn big, and the number of people that are getting engaged with those emails is growing, and those are re-engaged leads for my salespeople. As we already said, nurturing leads is crucial in order to be at the right place at the right time for your customer and to beat your competitor to the punch. But it's also crucial because if you're not doing it, you're leaving a bunch of money on the table. Okay, so let's look at how we build a campaign like this. It's not as hard as you might think, and you're not going to have to go hire some marketing firm and spend $10,000 to do this. It's simple. So first of all your salespeople need to know is that the system's going to do its job, and they're going to get alerts on their smartphone like this with the company, the customer's name, their email address, their phone number, and what they clicked on. So here I can see exactly what PDF file this customer clicked on, right? So I'm in my car on my way to another meeting, and this shows up on my smartphone. I can click the phone number and call the customer and know exactly what to talk about. So for the salespeople, it's brain dead simple, and they can react quickly from wherever they are. Now, how do we write these emails? Well, they don't have to be super polished, highly designed emails. This is a simple email that the Better Business Bureau uses in our system, and it performs very well. And all it's doing is pointing to an article on a whole other site. It's not even their own content. The Better Business Bureau is in the business of helping customers establish trust with their customers. And so there's an article about trust in brands that they're linking to. So when a customer gets this email and clicks on that link, they're essentially saying to the Better Business Bureau, I'm concerned about the trust my customers have in my brand. That makes that company a good prospect for the Better Business Bureau. So simple email, not highly designed. Now, here's one Community Coffee uses in our system. They've got a nice big marketing department with lots of talented folks, and they created something that looks great. That's fine. Frankly, statistically speaking, what we see is that the pure text emails work better. In a perfect world, you might want to mix them up a little bit, have a little bit of both. But either way, even though this is a very nicely designed email, what it's doing is the same. It's pointing out a problem and linking the customer to some content that might be helpful if they have that problem. And that way, the customer is raising their hand and saying to Community Coffee, hey, I have a problem you might be able to help me with. Here's another example of another email that performs very well, just simple text with a link to an article. So let's get into how we write these emails. So if you've been through any kind of sales training, you may have heard the term pain used. So that refers to what is the problem or the challenge in the customer's world that's making them want to make some kind of change in their world, right? And there's different levels of pain. There's the technical pain, meaning what's broken. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to do with technology. It might be that, my costs for my truck fleet are rising and I'm trying to control them. That's a technical pain. The business pain is how does that problem affect the business, the profitability, the growth of the business. So spending too much on my truck fleet, and that's eroding profits, right? But the most important thing to understand is what's the personal pain. So even if you're a B2B company, you're selling to businesses, you want to figure out the personal pain of the customer that you sell to. So if you sell to the fleet manager or the VP of finance, you can get in your mind a picture of that person's personal life. What's their typical income? How many kids they typically have? all of those kind of things. When things go wrong in their role, how does that affect them at home? Does it cause them to be stressed out? Does it cause them to have to work longer hours and not get to spend as much time with the family and the kids? Are they missing their bonuses and therefore they can't buy the vacation home or go on the big family vacation? Things like that. Those are the things that ultimately, if you can figure out how to tie your solution to those problems in that customer's personal life, you're going to be most effective, because in the end, we all buy things for personal reasons out of self-interest. The business and the technical pain are just a way to rationalize it. So figure out what your pains are. What are the things that are going wrong for your customers that are making them uncomfortable? Write those down, and then we're going to create an email for each one. Now, then we need to find some content, like we looked at. The Better Business Bureau was pointing to this article. Community Coffee had this study on employee morale. You don't have to write the content yourself. It can be something on somebody else's site. It could be a trade association in your industry and a study that they've published or something like that. It could be something published by the government, educational institutions, research papers. Could be news. Video is very effective. Video will get clicked on twice as often as a link to an article. So if you can find video, use it. Go to YouTube and do a search and find a news story or something like that. Use what's available. Don't slow down this process in order to go and try and create the perfect content. Get started and measure what happens, and then adjust, and ultimately, once you see the results, then start making more significant investments in the content. Because you might miss the mark initially, especially if this is your time or your first time. So let's make sure we get the target, the pain, the messages right, and then we'll create content to fit that. So creating the emails gets really simple at this point. We've come up with our list of 4 or 5 pains, and each of those pains is going to be the subject of an email. So down here you can see examples. 4 ways to fill in the blank, 4 ways to avoid this pain, 4 ways to reduce truck fleet costs, 4 ways to save money on truck maintenance, 4 ways to avoid repair costs. Write down your pains and then create subjects from them. How XYZ Corp fixed rising fleet costs. And then write the email. Make it super short. You don't want it to be long. Think about how you read email. When you get an email from somebody you don't know, if it's 2 paragraphs long, it's already too much, right? You're already hitting delete. Keep it short. And sell the content, not your solution, not your company, and not your product. That's not the point here. We're not trying to sell anything. What we're trying to do is offer the customer something of value to them. If you have this problem, this might be helpful. And not asking for anything in return for yourself. So the email itself should sell the content. Make them hurt. Make them feel that pain. Remind them how and when it hurt. Has this ever happened to you? Or did profits come in under target last year? Were truck fleet costs over budget last quarter? Working long hours due to out of control costs. Has this happened to you? Have you experienced this pain? Is whatever your pain is costing you money or time or jobs or customers? If so, then click here to read this. If so, then click here to watch this video. You might include just a teaser amount of the content, like the first paragraph or something like that, or maybe pull out a real gem of, a metric or something that's in the article. But that's it. You want them to click. That's them raising their hand. Don't give them everything in the email. Once we've created our campaign, how do we use it? How do we make it work for us? Well, here, just as an example, I have a dashboard of leads that have come into our system in the last month. So I'm going to go here, click on this link, and grab that list. That's a list of all the people that have started a free trial on our site. So these are brand new leads for us. And now I want to put them on a campaign. So I add to campaign. I search for my lead nurturing campaign. And you can see it's an email once a week for 7 weeks. And you see here, look up 46. That's the 46 people that started a free trial in the month. I hit add to campaign, and all those emails are going out. But here's the magic ingredient. It's not just a bunch of emails going out, and I'm hoping they go back to my site, and I'm hoping they pick up the phone and call me, because that's very unlikely, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and say, anytime somebody clicks on one of those emails, I want Justin to be alerted. He can be alerted within the system, or he can get an email on his smartphone when he's out of the office. Now, I've got 42 people getting an email every week, and Justin doesn't have to worry about it at all. All he knows is he's going to be alerted when somebody does click, essentially raising their hand and saying, hey, remember me? I started a free trial a few months ago. I'm ready to talk again. That's how lead nurturing works. It'll pay off. It works every time that it's tried. You have to invest a little bit of time in writing a few emails, but it should not be disruptive to your team. All it's going to do is give them hot leads to talk to.